Hello, my little horsepower junkies and the most scrupulous of spec sheet warriors. There has never been a more fitting time to sit down, get comfortable, and prepare to examine the phenomenal girth of 10 of the most powerful motorcycles available today. No muscle cruisers, no sport tours, only the best purebred sport bikes today. Spoiler alert, only 2 of these bikes make less than 200 horsepower. Can you guess which ones? Alright, let's get into it. The first bike on the list is Kawasaki's latest flex on all of motorcycling. Kawasaki has a rich history of building motorcycles that fulfilled the coked-out dreams of the Kawasaki Kyles of history. Squids think they're so cool when they lie and say they went 186 miles per hour on their 600 class bike. But do you know what motorcycle can actually go 186 miles per hour? The Kawasaki H2. Heck, it can go 200 miles an hour. The top speed is likely limited in the stock form, but an H2O with a built motor, like the one I have. Subtle flex. It'll go like 220 or 230 on the drag strip. Maybe that's something we'll have to find out for ourselves, wink wink. The Kawasaki H2O has a supercharged 999cc inline 4-cylinder engine that makes a claimed 228 horsepower stock. If you want all the supercharged goodness but are settling into the life of an elder millennial, back problems included, there is also the naked variant, the ZH2, that features a more upright seating position. There is also the sport touring dad edition of this motorcycle, the H2SX. But never fear, the H2, ZH2, and H2SX all come equipped with a supercharged engine. So you will not have to sacrifice any of that fluttering supercharger ISMR for the sake of comfort. The next motorcycle on the list today is, you guessed it, the Hayabusa. Since 1999, the Hayabusa has been one of the poster childs for the question, should this motorcycle really be able to be sold to any average motorcyclist with a 600 credit score and a willingness to go into debt for an endless supply of yeet energy? And to answer that question, yes, they should. Just like how riders who complete Harley-Davidson's riding school get a coupon for $500 off the purchase of their Iron 883, completion of the MSF course should come with a coupon to the nearest Suzuki dealer, with the caveat that it gets spent on a Hayabusa. Then the savings can be spent on a turbocharger. The Suzuki Hayabusa has a 1340cc inline 4 engine that makes 188 horsepower, which is honestly not all that much juice to propel the lumbering 580-pound curb weight, hence the need for a turbocharger. But what this engine lacks in horsepower, it makes up for in torque, coming in at 110 foot-pounds. The beefy pistons in this engine might not be able to rev high enough to crest the 200 horsepower mark, but they sure can put some torque down at the crank. And for the memes alone, the Busa needs a shout out. Is it a bit of a relic in 2023? Yes, but it's a Hayabusa after all. The third bike on the list today is as powerful as its name is long. That is the Honda CBR 1000 RR RSP. FIREBLADE. Do you have 30 grand burning a hole in your pocket? Do you have a desire to prove wrong everyone who claims Honda to be boring? Well, then the FIREBLADE may be the bike for you. Or you could just get a Ducati. The FIREBLADE is a purebred racing machine. It is a 999cc inline 4-cylinder engine that is making a whopping 215 horsepower and 83 foot-pounds of torque in the European version. This power that can be unlocked in the States through some misdemeanor-level cybercrime. And this naturally aspirated engine is tightly nestled into a bike that is weighing just 443 pounds. Almost 80 pounds lighter than a motorcycle like the Kawasaki H2. The FIREBLADE has all the bells and whistles you'd expect from a motorcycle that costs nearly $30,000, like fully adjustable and electronically controlled Öhlins suspension in the front and rear, a 6-axis IMU that controls a whole suite of rider aids, and an up and down quick shifter. The FIREBLADE is an iconic motorcycle with one of the coolest names, and a reminder that Honda doesn't just make scooters and mini bikes, but class-leading super sport motorcycles as well. Speaking of $30,000, the next motorcycle on the list is the MV AGUSTA BRUTALE 1000RR. This bike is like a cyberpunk rider's wet dream. It is a chunky, angular, aggressive naked bike that is making a modest 208 horsepower from its 998cc 4-cylinder engine. MV has come a long way since making frightening airplanes in the shadow of the Wright brothers in the early 1900s. But racing and high-performance motorcycle was always a part of MV Agusta's lineage, at least until Harley-Davidson owned them in the early 2000s. This motorcycle also a litany of tech features like electronically controlled Öhlins suspension and electronic Öhlins steering damper and a big ol' TFT display. It has Brembo brakes as well to help soften the blow of the price tag. These bikes are interesting, they're unique and bespoke. But if I'm being honest, it kind of looks like someone balled up a handful of tin foil and stuck a stupid powerful engine in it. But hey, this is a video of the most powerful motorcycles, not the most attractive motorcycles. Because if it were about most attractive motorcycles, you know that the Busa wouldn't have made the list. Speaking of $30,000, Did I already make that joke? Moving on, we have the BMW S1000RR. Is there also the M1000RR that is marginally more powerful but like twice the cost? Yes. But again, we're talking most powerful motorcycles, not most overpriced motorcycles. And the M1000RR is only marginally more powerful than the S1000RR, if at all. Faster maybe, but the power figures themselves are quite similar. So give it a rest. And also, for the BMW guys who are already writing their hate comments, I don't care. I don't like your motorcycle and I never will. Get over it. Maybe you should have bought a Royal Enfield or a Turbo Hayabusa instead. The S1000RR has a 999cc inline 4-cylinder engine that makes 205 horsepower and 83 foot-pounds of torque. Are you seeing a trend here? While one of the most powerful motorcycles that doesn't weigh 550 pounds, get a leader bike. That is the summarization of the message today. Although there are some bikes you may not expect on the list, so be sure to watch all the way to the end. But that's about it for the S1000RR. I don't want to talk about BMW anymore. Moving on to motorcycle number 6. I don't think we've been numbering these, but we are now. Number 6 is the Ducati Panigale V4R. Is this the most powerful motorcycles or the most expensive motorcycles? Seems both aspects go hand in hand. But I mean, for the sake of this video, why not? The Panigale V4R makes 207 horsepower stock, but if equipped with the option race kit, can make upwards of 240 horsepower. Talk about one spicy meatball. This bike comes with a bunch of electronic doodads to help prevent you from crashing your new Panigale that cost more than your child's college fund. Also, a funny anecdote, Ducati claims you can only reach 240 horsepower if you use Ducati-endorsed Shell brand oil, which is very Ducati. Ducati Corsa Shell engine oil is packaged in carbon fiber bottles for maximum flexing. I can hear the Ducatistas now saying one case of my engine oil costs more than your whole bike. But there you have it, the Panigale V4R. Speaking of $30,000. Oh wait, this bike only costs $19,000. What a bargain! The next motorcycle on our unnumbered list is the Aprilia RSV4. This motorcycle is another Italian posture rocket that wants only one thing: to help you recover from the emotional scars left behind after divorce from your wife, and to go as fast as possible around a racetrack. The Aprilia RSV4 has a 1099cc V4 engine that makes 217 horsepower and 125 Newton meters of torque. For the listeners who do not know what the hell a Newton meter is, that is 91 foot-pounds of torque. And if you were so inclined to spend 30 grand, opting for the RSV4 factory would get you a little bit closer to that benchmark. The RSV4 factory is making the same power figures as the regular model, but has forged aluminum wheels, semi-active Öhlins suspension, and Brembo Styloma brake calipers. The year was 2006, and after having not copied anyone's homework in a few years, Kawasaki decided it was time to do what they do best. Make a motorcycle very similar to someone else's, but make it a little bit bigger and shower it in green paint. And that's what they did with the ZX14R. The ZX14R came for a piece of the Hayabusa's pie and was aimed directly at the riders who deemed themselves too mature to ride a motorcycle with all the mimetic value that the Busa had. They just wanted an unnecessarily large beluga whale of a motorcycle just like everyone else, but they didn't want a massive kanji on the fairing or, God forbid, a custom paint a job that looked like Banksy did it after a weekend in Tijuana huffing nitrous balloons behind the taco shop. Although its days are likely limited, the ZX14R is still here. It is powered by a 8,441cc inline 4-cylinder engine that is making 208 horsepower. Kinda makes the Busa look like a bit of a slouch. Kawasaki has also managed to secure the coveted title of having the only leader bike other than the FIREBLADE to make more than 200 horsepower, the ZX10R. It has a 998cc 4-cylinder engine that makes 203 horsepower. It has all your standard leader bike stuff: good suspension, good brakes, fancy electronics, you know the drill. And considering the last two bikes are also leader bikes, I'm just gonna lump them in here as well. The Suzuki Gixxer 1000 makes 199 horsepower, and the Yamaha YZF makes 198 horsepower. They didn't quite work hard enough to earn those last 2 horsepower numbers, so they get lumped in at the end of the list. Even more pathetic, the Honda 1000RR, the non-FIREBLADE model, makes like 190 horsepower. Oh hey, that is 12 total bikes. You got 2 free. You're welcome. How many of these bikes are you willing to drop 30 grand on? Should the Hayabusa be finally retired from the ranks of fastest or most powerful motorcycles? Let me know. Fact: the first person to write about tofu in the English language was Benjamin Franklin. Goodbye.
Well, look at you. You've made it to the end of another Yammy Noob video. You should consider yourself pretty lucky because I have curated this one right over here for you to continue watching. It's probably just as good as the one you just saw. Unless you hated the one you just saw. I don't know, maybe leave me a comment down below about how much you hated it as well too. Or just keep watching this one. Make sure you keep watching Yami Noob. Don't forget to keep watching Yami Noob. That's the most important thing. Keep watching Yami Noob.